Hi there. Welcome to another edition of TokStocks. I'm your host, Keir Reynolds, and today we're lucky enough to have Patrick Elliott, President and CEO of Forte Minerals. How you doing today, Pat?
Doing great, Keir. Thanks for having me on board here.
Yeah, thank you. Last time I saw you is probably, like 12 years ago now. We played a little broker softball and whatnot.
That's right.
But great to reconnect with you, and great to see you at the helm of this. What is the name and stock ticker of your company?
Forte Minerals Corp, and the ticker is CUAU.
What is the vision of the company?
It's develop gold and copper pipeline projects for the mid-tiers and the majors.
Why are you best to lead this?
Spent over 25 years in South America and predominantly in Peru, and we've assembled a world-class team that's had many discoveries in Peru, and we'll make several more in order to move things forward in the gold and copper sector.
How many shares are outstanding?
36 million.
What is the insider ownership, and how much capital have you invested?
I've invested over $600,000 into Forte, and the insider ownership's around 24%.
Are you fully funded for 2024?
We're currently doing a strategic placement right now in order to fund the drilling program.
What are your short-term catalysts?
Drill permitting for a couple of our projects, but getting in and initiating this first drill program on Pucarini, which will occur sometime in June, July.
What is your market cap?
$8 million Canadian.
Yeah, maybe you could give a little bit about, tell everybody a bit about your background, who you are, how'd you get into the business?
Certainly, I'm 43 years old, and right from an early age, I was, going to mining sites and exploration sites with my father, looking at property. So I had quite a collection of rocks at an early age, and was fortunate enough to start taking geology in high school. It's not often offered in the curriculum, but my school had in grade 12, and started into university in economic geology. So it was really when things started turning in the late 90s, and started working in exploration, and did that for about 15 years, and then made that transition into the finance sector with some grad school studies.
Yeah, I see you've got your MBA there as well. So you've got sort of both sides, the boots on the ground, technical ability, and then some of the business world as well. So you mentioned your father. Maybe you could explain a little bit about who he is.
David Elliott, yeah, he's financial advisor, stockbroker, founder of Haywood Securities, and predominantly focused on the resource sector. And it's how I got involved. It's kind of following him around when I was 10, 12 years old. I started going to sites with him. And collecting rocks. I thought I was a millionaire at age 10 with all the rocks that I had in my room, but as we find out now, you need a lot of tonnage to get the metal. But there was an interest there early on, and I started studying sciences and geology, and spent a lot of years in the field just exploring for gold and copper predominantly.
Excellent. Well, your pops has certainly always been very, very nice to me, and he's certainly a wonderful one of the good ones, one of the nice ones. He'll pick up the phone and listen to anybody, which is great. So you mentioned that he kind of got you started. What was your sort of first official sort of job in the mining sector?
Yeah, it wasn't. It was actually in Hawaii. My first job was working in Hawaii as a geophysicist, working for the U.S. Navy, finding unexploded bombs. I was, performing electromag studies to find the iron in the soil. But there's an island off of Maui called Ko'olave that was used as a practice target site by the U.S. Navy. Pre Pearl Harbor, and the state of the state of Hawaii wanted that remediated. So it was a fairly large UXO project. So I worked there for a couple of years. You fly into Sikorsky every morning and evening back and forth. A lot of risk associated, but that was in my early 20s when I got out of university, and it was predominantly because there was no jobs in exploration. This is 1998 to 2002, and things were just starting to pick up on the exploration side. So, I moved to Hawaii to learn how to kiteboard and started working as a geophysicist. But that quickly catapulted into moving to Chile, and then I started working on a porphyry copper exploration project in southern Chile, and that's when the market really started to pick up in 2003. And after about 12 years in the field, living out of a backpack, I decided that it was time to go to grad school and maybe have an address that I could live by.
Hey, that's excellent. So just in sort of speaking of that, living out of a backpack, what are some of the places in the world that you've been and worked in?
It started in Chile, and then after that, for a short time, I was in Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan, working on some porphyry copper and nickel deposits there, and spent some time in Nevada. And in about 2005-06, we had an opportunity to move back down into Peru. This was a time when a lot of exploration companies were looking at Peru. It was very underexplored. It had a late start, just due to the political regime, and it was fairly unstable before that. So we opened up an office, Tom Hendrickson and I, in Lima, Peru, and we were right into the Zafranal porphyry copper gold deposit. It was discovered by Teck earlier on, and we optioned it and moved it right through into pre-feasibility. And 20 years later, now Teck is looks like they've got the green light to take that into production. So it was quite a project to be able to be involved in, and drill a couple hundred holes and take it through the various studies.
I was going to ask, maybe you could tell us what your most exciting adventure would that project be it?
Well, I mean, as a junior geologist moving in there, it was fairly overwhelming to be involved in a project that started off with just a couple geologists, and before we knew it, there was over 20 geologists and 5 drill rigs, and things were moving really fast at the time. So, incredible experience, and we just kept on finding more and more mineralization, and the thing grew quite substantially. So. Pretty neat to be involved in something like that with Teck and AQM Copper, and now it looks like it's going to go in production.
Excellent, and it's a copper porphyry. Copper porphyry seem like they're back in style again here. Some juniors are having a bit of success in the space. Maybe we could switch gears a little bit. You could explain a little bit about how Forte sort of came together.
Well, this Zafranal was the start of it, and we recognized that Peru was an incredible place to be exploring, and lots of metal endowments that yet to be discovered. So we initially started a private project generator in 2008 with Richard Osman and Manuel Montoyo, who came from Teck at the time, and the purpose of this was to do some remote sensing work and master imagery work throughout the entire country. And it works really well in the Andes because there's not a whole lot of vegetation cover there. So it's a long process to be able to follow up on these anomalies, but it's yielded some new discoveries from that, and a very large project portfolio. And from that, we were able to pick the 2 best properties that we wanted, and we spun those out into Forte. And that's really why we took Forte public a couple of years ago, was the opportunity to be able to work on these projects ourselves and not option them out to a third party through a project generator. So it's really that strategic alliance, that strategic partner that we have in Globetrotters that, is a major shareholder of Forte. We're all very close, associates, been working together with a group of companies, and there's about 5 or 6 companies in Peru that we move forward. But Forte is my focus, and we're about to drill our first project here this summer, so it's getting really exciting.
And Globetrotter, I noticed them on the cap table, and there's a bit of a mention of them in terms of maybe you could just explain that group a little bit. So is that the group that basically does all the early sort of stage work to identify and prove up sort of the thesis for the projects?
That's right, and it's so integral and important to have like the perseverance and the integrity to be able to find these things and work them over years and years and advance them through to drill projects. It's not something that can be done in a season or two, and so it's Globetrotters is a company that we privately funded. It's predominantly Dave Elliott and Andrew Williams and their clients and ourselves that have taken this on. Now 17 years, and we've yielded several companies out of that through the spin-outs of projects, but also we have many projects under option through Globetrotters. So it's turning into more of a royalty company, and standalone, receiving a lot of payments from other companies and whatnot. But we've been able to spin out and generate a few other companies. So to answer your question, it is the same group of founders and principals that are involved in Globetrotters, as well as Forte and Element 2029. A lot of geologists and scientists that have been working together a long time together in Peru. So the team's fairly expansive, but there's a lot of overlap between those entities.
So given your own expertise in project evaluation and economic geology and whatnot, how did you pick these two that you've sort of put in and sort of spun out into Forte? How did you pick the 2 projects?
Yeah, it's a good question. We don't look for things that we can advance and develop resources that we would potentially be taking into production ourselves. We look for things that are large. So we look for grade thresholds and large tonnage that would be attractive to the mid tiers and majors. So it has to have that significant alteration footprint and that obvious ability to build large tonnage and grade, and that comes with all the indicators and alteration signatures that you see in these porphyry copper systems and high sulfidation gold systems. So those are what we target. Often there's been a major mid-tier influence. It's the district scale stuff, and we really look for these tier 1 anomalies, and we believe that we have at least one and perhaps several.
Excellent. So you're targeting predominantly tier 1 and tier 2 projects. You're not really looking for any small scale near-term producer type stuff.
That's right. That the model is big porphyry copper deposits that we can demonstrate to the majors and the mid tiers that it's something that they need within their production profile or their development profile. And it's getting exciting now at a point where a lot of these producing companies, copper and gold, are hungry. They're very hungry for earlier stage and resource development projects. And we're fortunate just to have started this process 15, 17 years ago, and we got quite the portfolio.
And so the company, was it an IPO that was done? Was that sponsored by Haywood?
That's correct. Yes, it was.
Maybe you could give us a bit of an overview on Forte and the projects that you do have.
Certainly. We initially 2 years ago when we IPO'd, we spun out 2 projects out of Globetrotters, and those were the priority, handpicked top tier projects that we wanted to drill ourselves. We did not want to option them out, and we felt that these needed our interest and our money into the ground. So one of them is a high sulfidation gold project that we've just recently received the drill permitting for. That'll get drilled this summer. It's called Pucarini. It's a high sulfidation in Puno, and got some incredible coincident geochem with high resistivity and high chargeability anomaly. So it looks like it's a good sized system. It has the alteration footprint that we're looking for to put together at least a couple million ounces, and certainly the grade. So that'll be an exciting project to drill. And then the other one we spun out is Esperanza. And Esperanza was a highly sought after porphyry in the Paleocene belt. So the Paleocene is the southern Peru copper belt. That's what hosts these monster porphyry deposits. And it's the address you want to be in. But why this one's significant is it's never been drilled, and it's partially covered by overburden. So we believe that the enrichment blanket, which is the higher grade chalcocite that really drives the economics in these porphyry deposits early on in production. We believe that that's been preserved and that it's substantial. So all indications from geophysics and from geochem and the mapping, it's got a 3 by 2 kilometer potassic alteration footprint, and we're excited to drill that. So it takes over about 2 years to get these drill permits in the country. We finally received both of these permits for these two projects that have never been drilled. Now, to complement the portfolio, what we've done, and a big part of our strategy is going after historically discovered or projects that have been de-risked from discovery in the past. And so we have a high sulfidation gold project in central Peru that we just announced in early March. And this one's been in the making for a while. This has been about 10 years of persistence and perseverance from Globetrotters, our strategic partner, who staked it in competition with another major, and it kind of got held up in that process. But at the end of the settlement and negotiation, we ended up with 100% of it, and we gave up a 1% royalty. So we decided to move that into Forte as well and move that forward. But this was discovered by Buenaventura in the late 90s. It encountered some significant gold mineralization from surface. About 130 meters of 2.55 grams gold in oxide. Wow. And then the top 54 meters were 5.4 grams gold in oxide. There's a couple other holes that had some really good gold mineralization as well. But it was a very small drilling campaign, very shallow holes at the time, and not systematically explored with geophysics and whatnot. So a lot of work needs to be done to understand the structural controls there. But why this project has the potential to be a tier 1 and why it's so significant is it's right next door to Barrick's Pucarini mine that's now going through mine reclamation and closure. And that mine produced over 10 million ounces of oxide gold. It was a tremendous success story for Barrick. And the relationships with the communities are exceptional, and they're doing a phenomenal job fully reclaiming that open pit mine back to its near original state. But it'd be the first time that this has been done in the country with a complete reclamation of an open pit mine. So it's a long strike. It hosts the same host rocks as Barrick's Pucarini. It's 15 kilometers due south, and we have some work to do there. But we're currently going through the permitting process with that one, and so there's a fourth project. It's under option from Candente, which is now Alta Copper. And this is a project that we tried to get from government auction in 2008. And our senior executives in Chile at the time weren't comfortable in putting a bid in on this project. So we didn't win it. We didn't actually have a bid, but we visited it in 2008 when it was a historically discovered porphyry by Newmont and Buenaventura. So they drilled this in the mid 90s. The grade wasn't there, what they wanted to see at the time. Again, a function of the times, but they were actually looking for a gold system. It turned out this was a porphyry copper gold. And every single drill hole, 12 holes, all encountered mineralization. Again, really shallow, kind of vertical holes at that time, and so a lot of potential there. It's surrounded by a major, and we're working on the community relations and the drill permitting for that one as well. So that rounds off our portfolio. There's 2 high sulfidation golds and 2 porphyry coppers, 2 historically discovered and 2 never drilled before. So we'll be drilling our first project this summer.
Hey, that's exciting. We wish you a lot of luck with that. Maybe we can switch gears a little bit. We'll talk some financial sort of cap structure stuff. Maybe you could give us a bit of an outline on Forte's current cap structure, how many shares are outstanding, and maybe a breakdown of sort of who, if you're able to, who owns them.
Certainly. It's, we've worked hard at kind of preserving the capital. There's 36 million shares out. 15% is Globetrotters, our strategic project generator. Roughly 40% is with tight hands at Haywood through the family book and the clients there. Insiders are roughly 24%. So there's not a whole lot out there in the public float, and then there's 2 other brokers that were involved in the IPO, Canaccord and Echelon, that are tight hands as well. So at this point, in the last couple months, especially with this acquisition of Alto Ruri, we're just trying to create the awareness and starting to get the story out now that we're ready to drill one of our projects and increase that shareholder base.
What were the terms of like the IPO and any previous financings that you've done since you listed?
So we're trading around 23 cents now, and IPO was done at 30 with half warrant at 50. So previous to that, it was quite a while ago. Pre-IPO financing, there's some 20-cent warrants out there. There's about 5 million warrants at 20 cents that expire this summer. So we'll look to get some of those exercised and whatnot. But currently, right now, we're looking to do a strategic financing with some key individuals that have shown a lot of interest in the stock, and we're looking to close that actually in the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, are you funded for 2024? So upon the conclusion of that, and does that sort of provide enough runway for you to go and complete your sort of work activities for this season?
That's right. It'll catapult us into this first drill program, and then partially fund a second drill program as well. So we're looking at like $1.5 million to test the high sulfidation gold system at Pucarini, and then start the porphyry drill program at Esperanza.
And sort of how many meters of drilling split between the projects do you plan on doing?
That's a good question. So the high sulfidation will start with 1,200 meters and 4 holes there, and if there's joint success there, that'll continue on. Whereas the porphyry will be more of a 3,000 to 5,000 meter program, longer holes, at least half-kilometer holes, and wow. About 8 to 10 of them. Right. So to properly test that, so that will require more capital.
So what's a typical day look like for you?
Well, Peru's a couple hours ahead of us, so it usually starts up with reviewing a whole bunch of emails from Peru and investors in the day before. And then we get on the phone to Peru and go through some management calls and whatnot. It's predominantly just Anna Dallaire and myself and Richard Osmond here in Vancouver. So then we carry on with more internal calls ourselves. But because it's a very thin team, we're often dealing with accounting, financing, marketing, and project development stuff and the technical stuff as well. So a bit of everything.
Do you get a chance to get out into the field anymore? Do you go down to the projects? Will you be there for drilling?
Certainly, yeah. There's certainly 3 to 4 trips a year down to Peru, and we'll be down there actually fairly shortly before the drilling starts.
What sort of catalyst should investors look for over the next 6 months or so?
Well, it's been 2 years to get these drill permits in place. So heading out to drill some pretty exciting targets for the first time. Look for the results in the Pucarini high sulfidation and then the Esperanza porphyry copper. Meanwhile, advancing these other two projects through to drill permitting, but also developing some targets and some excitement around Alto Ruri. Getting on the ground, doing some more geophysics will be fundamental in moving Alto Ruri forward. So there'll be a lot of work done this summer, some drilling, and we look to make a new discovery. We got a good chance at it. It's these are highly sought after projects that are really hard to find. So it's finally come to the point here now where we're stepping out and testing with the drill bit.
So what I was going to ask, and probably a good segue, what makes Forte Minerals a compelling choice for investors?
Well, it's an $8 million market cap story. It's tightly held here now, and we'll be well financed to drill our projects and come up with near-term results. So given the support in the sector and in the commodities and whatnot, it's truly a cycle we've been waiting for a long time, and we're kind of at this forefront of entering into exciting kind of junior micro cap, small cap resource cycle. And our strategy, it's the model's been around for 20 years now, but all this work that we've been doing for 15 or 20 years in the country has now come to this point where we're developing resources for the majors and mid-tiers, and that's always been the model. And we've had success with a few other companies that have moved on and sold their projects, and we're not doing anything different here with Forte, except for doing it with copper and gold in Peru.
Any final thoughts you want to leave us with?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, follow the story. You'll see some near-term developments. The ticker symbol is CUAU, which is copper gold. It's not a tough one to remember, and look for some exciting developments and some news on our projects.
Excellent. Well, what we'd like to do here is kind of have quarterly sort of updates. So hopefully you'll come back after you've completed a bit of work, and we got fingers crossed for you that you get some discovery success. Great to reconnect with you there, Pat.
Well, thanks a lot for having us, Peter. Really appreciate this, and look forward to reconnecting with you.